Okay, so sounds like you're really working hard on your spoken English, huh?
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of that hesitation we all feel when we want to speak confidently.
Right.
You found this really cool podcast called Speak English from Zero to Pro
Yeah.
with this language mentor, Kundan, working with a learner named Amit.
Okay.
And it's really cool. Like, we get to listen in on a real coaching session.
I think what's so interesting is that hesitation is something everyone goes through when they're learning a new language.
Yeah.
It's like any new skill, really. Wow. Like, picture yourself riding a bike for the first time or cooking a new recipe. That fear of messing up is real.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But you have to push past it because those little mistakes, they're actually how you learn how to do anything.
And it seems like Amit is really struggling with that fear.
Yeah.
Like, he mentions being scared of people laughing at him if he says something wrong.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, and his feelings are valid. It's natural to feel vulnerable when you're putting yourself out there in a new language.
Right.
But think about it. Everyone makes mistakes when they learn.
Yeah.
It's like a toddler learning to walk. They fall down so many times, but they keep going. They don't even think about it.
I wonder if it's not even just a lack of self-consciousness. I mean, toddlers are really determined.
Yeah.
And they haven't learned to fear failure yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it, too.
That's a great point. I think there's definitely a fearlessness that comes with being new to something. Now, Kundan identifies 4 main reasons why people hesitate when they speak English.
Okay.
One is the fear of making mistakes, just like we've been saying, but also a lack of practice.
Right.
The habit of thinking in your native language instead of directly in English, and low confidence in general.
I'm curious what Kundan suggests we do about all that. Does he give any advice to overcome these issues?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He breaks it down into 4 key strategies. Thinking in English, speaking every day, using what he calls the 3-second rule, and learning phrases instead of just individual words.
Wow. Okay, let's break all that down. So first up, thinking in English. What does that even look like?
Well, it's about training your mind to form thoughts directly in English instead of translating from your native language.
Right.
Kundan shows this with Amit. He asks him to just describe what he's doing right then.
Okay.
And Amit says, quote, "I'm listening to this podcast and learning English."
Okay.
It sounds simple, but that switch from translating to thinking in English directly is a huge mental shift.
So it's like you're creating a new pathway in your brain for English. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. Now on to Kundan's second tip, speaking every way.
Okay.
He admits that not everyone has people to practice speaking with.
Right.
So he suggests something that might sound kind of weird, talking to yourself.
Wait, hold on. Talking to myself. Isn't that a little crazy? I mean, won't people think I've lost it?
I know it sounds out there.
Yeah.
But just think about it. Kundan suggests describing your surroundings, what you're doing, your thoughts even, all out loud in English.
Right.
Might feel silly at first.
Yeah.
But you get comfortable with the sounds and flow of the language without worrying about what people think.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Like turning your everyday life into a low-pressure practice session.
Right.
Have you ever actually tried that?
You know what, I have.
Oh, wow.
And it can be really effective. It's all about getting those words out, even if it's just to yourself.
Yeah. I bet there are some funny stories out there of people accidentally talking to themselves in public, thinking no one's around.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe we should ask our listeners if they have any funny experiences.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Kundan's advice.
Okay.
What's this 3-second rule all about?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
It's all about breaking that cycle of thinking too much and hesitating that can make you freeze up in the middle of a sentence.
So, like, if I'm trying to think of the perfect word or how to say something grammatically correct, what should I do?
Kundan says, set a timer in your head.
Okay.
You have 3 seconds max to come up with something, and then you just say it. No second guessing, no agonizing, just get those words out there. Like, imagine a timer ticking down.
Okay.
Tick, 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 speak.
I love that.
Yeah.
Just go for it. I'm just picturing myself having a conversation with that timer in my head.
Yeah.
Didn't Kundan actually try this out with Amit?
He did. He surprised Amit with a question, what did you eat for breakfast?
Oh, wow. Okay. And how did Amit handle that? Was he able to stick to the 3-second rule?
He did. Amit answered, I ate paratha and tea.
Simple.
Maybe not a super exciting answer, but he spoke without getting stuck.
That's great. I can see how that would build confidence, just getting those words out. It's like building up fluency, even if it's not perfect grammar at first.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of building fluency, what's Kundan's last strategy?
His last piece of advice focuses on learning phrases, not just single words.
Okay.
And this is where it gets strategic.
Oh, how so?
Instead of trying to come up with every sentence from scratch, you have pre-built blocks of language ready to use, like having tools ready in your conversational toolbox.
So instead of like getting stuck trying to find the perfect word in the moment,
Right.
you've got these ready-to-go phrases to use.
Exactly.
Like a shortcut to fluency. I can see how that would help in like everyday talking.
Totally. Kundan gives some examples like, that's a good question, or I think that.
Okay.
These are phrases that come up all the time in conversations, so having them on hand can make you feel less stressed and more confident.
Yeah, it's amazing how such small things can make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Like little tricks that unlock more confident speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a risk that like if you use phrases too much, you might sound robotic?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, how do you balance using phrases with sounding natural?
Well, it's all about using phrases as starting points, not your whole vocabulary. They're there to help you begin and to like bridge those gaps when you're searching for a word.
Okay.
But yeah, you want to sound natural and like yourself.
For sure.
It's like learning an instrument.
Uh-huh.
You start with scales and chords, but then you can improvise and make your own music.
Yeah, I love that analogy. It's about getting the basics down and then developing your own style.
Right.
So for you listening, have you ever noticed how powerful phrases can be?
Yeah.
Which ones do you use a lot? It's interesting to see what works for different people.
Definitely. And remember, there's no right or wrong way. What works for one person may not work for another.
True.
It's all about trying things out, finding what you like, and practicing consistently.
Right.
Like Kundan says to Amit, progress comes from those little steps taken every day.
So it's not about suddenly becoming fluent overnight.
Right.
It's about building that fluency muscle over time.
Exactly.
But wouldn't it be cool to see a quick boost in confidence, even after a short time?
Oh, for sure.
Did Amit experience anything like that?
He did. Kundan noticed that Amit's confidence went up after using these strategies. It just shows how a few easy techniques can make a real difference.
So cool.
It's like he unlocked this inner confidence he didn't know he had.
That's so inspiring. And it really shows the importance of using the right tools and strategies. Like Kundan gave Amit the key to unlock his potential. And that's what we're trying to do here too. Giving you, the listener, the keys to unlock your fluency in English. And speaking of unlocking potential, at the end of the podcast, Kundan gives his listeners a challenge.
He does. He challenges them to speak in English for 2 minutes straight.
Wow.
No pausing, no overthinking, just talk. Could you imagine doing that?
I don't know.
It's a great exercise to push past those mental blocks.
That's a bold challenge. And it goes perfectly with everything we've talked about. Embracing the fact that you don't have to be perfect, believing in yourself, and taking that leap. I'm getting nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Would you try it?
You know what? I think I would. It's easy to get stuck in the theory, but sometimes you just have to dive in. It's about moving from fear to action.
You know what? That 2-minute challenge isn't just about English.
Right.
It's about pushing your boundaries, being resilient, and realizing you're capable of more than you think. Set a timer, 2 minutes, and see what you can do. You might really surprise yourself.
You know.
Would you quiet that inner critic and just let the words come out?
Yeah. And it's not even about being totally fluent in those 2 minutes. It's more about proving to yourself that you can communicate, you know, express yourself, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah. So wrapping up this deep dive, I think a big takeaway is that hesitation is normal.
Yeah.
Like it's just part of learning a language.
Absolutely.
It's not like you're weak or bad at it or anything. It's just what happens.
It's part of the process. And I think what Kundan does so well is that he changes how we think about mistakes.
Right.
Instead of seeing them as failures, they're opportunities to learn.
It takes the pressure off, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have to be perfect all the time.
Totally.
You can just embrace the messy part of learning.
Yeah, it's messy, it's imperfect, but it's so rewarding in the end.
I love hearing that because I think we all get stuck in that trap of wanting to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then we're so afraid to make a mistake that we don't say anything at all.
Right, exactly.
But Kundan's tips, like thinking in English, speaking every day, that 3-second rule, and using phrases, they all seem so doable.
Yeah.
Even for someone who might be feeling scared to speak a new language.
Yeah, that's what's so great about it.
Right.
They're so simple, anyone can try them right away, like small steps that lead to big changes over time.
It's not about some huge effort.
Right.
It's about being consistent every day.
Mhm.
Those small efforts add up and make a big difference.
Exactly.
Like they say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Right.
So that first step could be something small,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
talking about your breakfast in English,
Yeah.
or trying that 2-minute speaking challenge.
Exactly. And as we wrap up, think about this.
Okay.
Picture yourself a year from now, just talking in English confidently.
Wow, yeah.
What can you do today to make that happen?
That's a really good question.
What little things can you do every day to get closer to that goal?
It makes you realize that being fluent isn't like a finish line you cross.
Right.
It's a journey, something you build with practice.
Exactly.
So keep learning, find what works for you,
Yeah.
and remember, every step you take, even the tiny ones, gets you closer.
And don't forget to have fun while you're doing it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Learning a language should be an adventure.
Yeah, not a chore.
Exactly. Enjoy the process, celebrate your progress, and you got this.
Until next time, happy language learning.